The first time I stepped into Dominic's world, I told myself I was nothing more than a shadow. My hands moved over polished marble and shining glass, but my thoughts clung to the secret I carried beneath my heart. Every sweep of the cloth, every quiet step across the penthouse floors was a performance of invisibility. 6 months I had managed to stay unnoticed, tucked into the corners of his empire like dust no one bothers to see. Yet every day, the fear grew heavier, because the life inside me was his. A child born of one night when I believed in hope, not knowing the man's true name, not knowing the power he held over the city or the dangers surrounding him. I pressed my palm against my stomach, a silent promise to protect what mattered most. But fate never allows secrets to stay buried forever. The day his voice cut through the silence of the room, deep and commanding, I knew the walls I had built around myself were about to crack. I still remember the night that changed everything. The night when his world and mine collided without warning. Back then, he wasn't the man people whispered about in fear. He was simply Dominic, a stranger with a quiet smile and eyes that seemed to see straight through the walls I'd built. The ballroom lights had shimmered across crystal glasses, laughter spilling like champagne, and I was only a server passing unnoticed between the tables. But when he spoke to me, the noise of the gala faded, leaving only the sound of his voice. For one evening, I allowed myself to believe in something simple: kindness, warmth, connection. I didn't know the power he carried, the empire waiting behind his name. I only knew the way his hand lingered against mine, the way I felt seen for the first time in years. It should have ended there, a fleeting moment under borrowed stars, but fate had other plans. That night left me with a memory that grew into the secret I now carried, a secret that tied me to him forever. The mansion was a place of echoes, filled with footsteps that came and went, whispers that never reached the light. From behind polished doors and long hallways, I caught fragments of conversations, alliances spoken like threats, promises sharp as blades. I kept my head bowed, my hands busy, but I listened more than I should have, because every word reminded me of the man who unknowingly held my future in his hands. The closer I stayed to silence, the more I realized he was beginning to notice me. His gaze lingered longer now, sharp and searching, as if my face carried a memory he couldn't quite place. I lived with my heart pounding, afraid that the truth growing inside me would reveal itself before I was ready. At night, when the city lights spilled through the windows like broken stars, I would hold my locket and whisper to the life within me, promising safety, promising love. But deep down, I knew promises weren't enough, not when secrets in this house never stayed hidden for long. His eyes began to follow me in ways that made the air tighten around my chest. At first, it was only passing glances, but then came the pauses, moments where his gaze lingered just a second too long, as though he was chasing a memory hidden in my face. I tried to stay invisible, to fold myself into the walls of the mansion, yet destiny has a way of pulling secrets into the open. One evening, I thought I was alone, holding the silver locket that carried the last whisper of my grandmother's voice, tears burning at the edges of my eyes. But when I lifted my head, he was there, framed in the doorway, watching. His expression was unreadable, carved from shadows and firelight, but I felt the weight of his curiosity press against me. In that silence, my heart begged to stay hidden, yet I knew the truth was beginning to crack through the mask I had worn. And once truth awakens, it refuses to return to sleep. The moment his suspicion turned into certainty, the world I had built on fragile silence came crashing down. His voice, sharp yet shaken, demanded answers I had prayed he would never seek. For the first time, the mask of power slipped, and I saw not only a man feared by many, but a father stunned by a truth too heavy to deny. Anger burned in his eyes, but beneath it lived something raw: betrayal, disbelief, a flicker of pain. I wanted to shield myself, to shield the child who had no part in the choices that had led us here. Yet before we could face what this revelation meant, danger closed in from outside. Whispers of enemies moved like smoke through the mansion, and suddenly, I was no longer just a maid with a secret, I was a target. The storm had arrived, fierce and unforgiving, and survival meant finding strength I never knew I had. Every heartbeat became a promise to fight for the life within me, no matter the cost. The man who once stood as a fortress of iron began to reveal the cracks beneath his armor. In the days that followed, the anger that once blazed in his eyes softened into something unexpected: regret and a longing for redemption. He had spent years building walls of power and fear, yet the presence of a child shattered them with a gentleness no rival could defeat. I saw him change, not overnight, but with every moment he chose to stay instead of walk away. For the first time, he spoke not as a boss or a master of shadows, but as a father and a man willing to fight for more than control. And in his transformation, I found my own. No longer the invisible maid, I became a mother with unshakable strength, a woman who refused to let fear dictate her future. Together we stepped into a new beginning, imperfect but real, where hope grew stronger than secrets, and love became the bravest truth we could share.